World, the trending activity we have on Viewpoint from the Voice of Pan-Africanism, where we explore the most influential and trending developments shaping Ethiopia and the globe. I am Biniam Gitane, joined by my colleague Sentayo Tamrat, and we are going to have several interesting stories as we guide you through a compelling episode that places Ethiopia at the center of today's global conversation. Of course, we begin by exploring why the Ethiopian month of September holds such profound meaning. This month, of course, as you know, we celebrated Enqutatash, our new year, ushering in a fresh beginning with hope and unity. September, of course, as a matter of course, also marks a key milestone in our national progress. None more iconic than the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. More than an infrastructure project, the GERD represents our collective efforts and vision for development, energy sovereignty, and regional cooperation. Of course, as now the season of Bira unfolds, we turn our attention to one of the most Ethiopians' vibrant cultural celebration of Irrecha, the Oromo people's traditional and thanksgiving festival, which will be observed in the coming days, soon here in the capital, Addis Ababa and Hora Arsedi. Of course, Irrecha is not simply as a festival. It is a living expression of gratitude, peace, and reconciliation, drawing millions in a collective celebration of nature, culture, and spiritual renewal. It also reinforces the core value of our national identity and reflects the spirit of Madamar, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's vision for unity through synergy and shared strengths. Back home, ladies and gentlemen, the Ethiopian Parliament is to begin new legislative sessions. We'll bring you insights on the key issues on the agenda, highlighting the launch of EBC's new Amharic language parliamentary channel, an important step towards increasing transparency and civic engagement, as well as we'll revisit the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, not as a power of a source, but as a symbol of national pride, resilience, and Africa's capacity for sustainable transformation. From culture to diplomacy, we'll also take you to Moscow, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed recently met with President Vladimir Putin during World Atomic Week. The two leaders, of course, signed a landmark agreement on nuclear energy cooperation, signaling a major step in Ethiopia's embrace of clean energy, scientific innovation, and international partnership. Stay with us. You are watching EBC World. Once again, you can also follow us on EBC FM 104.7, the Voice of Pan-Africanism, and also find us on our Google FM Zeno transmission as we are broadcasting from the capital Addis Ababa. And without any further ado, do stay with us as I am going to explore several points which I have mentioned on the table with my colleague Sentayo. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to discuss on issues that I have given introduction about. And here is my colleague Sentayo Tamrat joining me to further shed lights on the ideas. Very warm welcome, Sentayo.
Thank you, Biniam, for having me. Yeah.
So, as you know, September has been a unique month beyond the calendar, and recently Ethiopia is registering several successes, call it on political development, economic, and also, as you know, the GERD comes also as a first and pioneer achievement for Ethiopia, resonating Africans as well. So, first, before we see some of the very critical pointers, I just want you to tell me what makes this particular month quite significant to Ethiopians.
Yeah, I think just this 2018 is quite significant, quite unique for Ethiopians because of two reasons. First, the Prime Minister unveiled some mega projects worth 30 billion USD, and they are just to transform Ethiopia, and they are going to be the pride of Ethiopians, the pride of the children of Africa. So that's one thing. And the other, perhaps more important, is that the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the world has been just waiting eagerly, and particularly Africans, and especially those in eastern part of Africa. They have been just waiting for the completion of that dam, and so the realization of that is really historic for Ethiopians. So that is it. And apart from that, the month September by itself is full of events. It's a colorful time. It is a time when the rainy season fades out and some warm weather is enjoyed. So for the global tourists as well as for Ethiopians, September is really a very nice time. For Ethiopians, we have just lots of events. We have the Enkutat Aisha or New Year, and we have the Meskel Demera celebrations in different parts of the country, just bringing families together with some religious significance, with social significance, cultural significance, and beyond that. We also have the Irecha festival, and just between the two is, it is today, September 21, where Ethiopians, particularly the Orthodox Christians from every part of the country, flock to North Ethiopia in Wollo region, a place called Gishan Mariam, where the part of the true Holy Cross was kept for centuries. So they go there just to gain some sort of blessing. So it is just full of events, and the next Saturday and Sunday we'll also witness one of the biggest events of September, that is Irecha celebration, the Hora Fimfine and Hora Ersedi. So September is full of that, and even the last week of September, the Monday of the last week of September is also a key event for Ethiopia. It brings Ethiopians, for example, the joint session of the Parliament and the House of Federation. So the future, meaning just the 2018 major events, plans of government will be unveiled there. So September is really a very nice month for Ethiopians, full of events, it's colorful, full of hope and so on.
That's quite interesting. You've emphasized on the very significant and truly good asset of Ethiopia, starting from how the month September is different and its impact for Ethiopia, especially speaking of tourism. It's peak season starting from September, as we have seen the celebration of Demera. We were able to witness tourists coming from different walks of life, and they really express their appreciation about how unique the celebration of Demera was, and also they witness the uniqueness of Ethiopia's, culture, spiritual culture, and also the impact that such kind of intangible heritage brings to Ethiopia, and many more, development, as you have said, happened, and also with the corridor expansion, the celebration of these public rallies have become very fundamental, as it adds several colors for Ethiopia that actually will promote Ethiopia at a higher level. And now also we are getting closer to celebrate one of the very vibrant culture of the Oromo Thanksgiving Day, Irecha. What can you tell us a little bit about it before we delve into some of the other interesting pointers? We can see it from tourism point of view, cultural promotion point of view. So what is your reflection on that, and how it does promote Ethiopia?
Yeah. So what I can say about Irecha is it is a Thanksgiving ceremony, as I said, and it is just a reflection of peaceful tradition where families reunite and get together, and some who quarrel, for example, year-long, before just celebrating that, they can sit together and just resolve their issues. So it is just also a symbol of reconciliation and peace and love for all of the Oromo people. So in fact, something that I could witness for the past 7 or 8 years is that to mark Irecha, just it is not only by the Oromo people. Many people from other nations and nationalities also come to join them and celebrate that together. So it is also a symbol of togetherness for Ethiopians. And if we see the cultural values, it promotes culture, unity, solidarity, brotherhood, I mean, among the people of those who are just separated by geography or so. Apart from that, it brings the local tristes as well as the global tristes. As we said, as we mentioned earlier, the global tristes are here in Ethiopia to mark the maybe to watch the new year and also the various aspects of Meskel, and today at Gishan Mariam. And here immediately follows the Irecha, which brings together millions of people at the outdoor festival. So it also just attracts the global tourists. So for the country, as well as for the people who celebrate, it is just a big thing to promote their culture and so on.
True, and also not only the celebration, but the different attires that are worn by people of these attendees would also significantly contribute Ethiopia's uniqueness to the outside world. And what really makes this Irecha celebration is nothing but it also coincides with the concept of synergy, as such event requires a collective effort whereby you show unity, brotherhood, and peace, as you say. And that is what actually Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is trying to convey on his recently book that was written as Madamar State. And it's a very interesting idea. How could you align that to, and give me just a 1 minute reflection on that?
Well, with Madamar, what I can say is that the Madamar is just to bring people who have not only same ideas but different. So the richness of cultural diversity in Ethiopia is just where the Madamar emanates from, I think, because it is just bringing this all for a common cause, you see, for a common national cause, whether it is development or so. It is just bringing all these varied groups of people who speak different languages, who have different religion, ethnic group, and so. So it is just bringing all this together and just cause some sort of national development, or just maintain your national interest or so. So it is just with this spirit that the government of Ethiopia, particularly Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, is just trying to bring the people of Ethiopia for prosperity of Ethiopia, just taking them together. So not only this particularly, it is just for we relate that with Irecha and the diversity, but you can also see just historic diversities. We have just some history that that unifies us together, like Adwa. We have also some other black history that divides us. Sure. So let's put aside that point that divides us and just take what is common for us, that gets us forward. Yeah. So this is what I can say.
Yeah, and also maybe to make the long story very short, we know Meskel or Damara has been already registered by UNESCO as an intangible heritage, and this is also another additional tourist value for Ethiopia, and so it excels and make Ethiopia as one of the touristy destination entirely in Africa, which will add more job opportunities as well, because if you see this kind of event, it goes beyond the actual practices. There are, activities that are done along the way. So at the end of the day, this particular event, as it has been stated by different scholars, it also promotes, gastrology, as we're going to acquaint ourselves with the different Oromo people, cultural practices, cuisines, and many other things. Because on that particular day, you see dramatic performances that, honors the celebrations as the people, express their happiness and peaceful relationship according to different sources that we have witnessed. So I think we need to work harder and make Ethiopia a great tourist destination. Of course, regional governments of Oromia and also other relevant stakeholders, as we know, are working hard, burning the Nile candle embossed endless, and this is one of the very important potential that we have. And of course, as we have been, this is exactly also the time where we see the philosophy of Madamar in action. So I hope people who are watching or listening to us can further read more and understand the very concept of Irrecha celebrations. And I think it's also time that we have to turn our attention to the second point that we have, because we have said a lot of things about Irrecha that we have expounded. So you know, Santayo, that this September, as you have mentioned it on the very beginning of your introduction, how unique September is. You said that there is going to be the upcoming opening of the Ethiopian Parliament, which, as you know, Ethiopia's Parliament, the House of People's Representatives and the House of Federation, it's scheduled to officially open its new session the coming Monday. So the joint session, as you know, marks the beginning of the Ethiopian 2018 years, which will start, of course, has started, and according to its unique Ethiopian calendar, there are several anticipated points to be discussed, and in this regard, during this particular important session, as you know, President Taye Asqassalasse is expected to address several points ahead of the year. So, in your opinion, what is expected from this particular parliament in this session?
Winnie, you have mentioned a good idea, but let me just first give a brief introduction of how the organization of the House of Federation, the two houses which will appear jointly tomorrow, will look like. So the House of People's Representatives, more known as the Parliament, and House of Federation are scheduled to open on a new session on Monday. That is, by the way, 28th of September, according to the Ethiopian calendar, and that is 6th of October, according to the Gregorian calendar. So that emphasizes some of the key socio-economic and the political targets. So coming to the legislative body, the federal legislative body, we have just two chambers, the House of People's Representatives and the House of Federation, each having 5-year term, and the House of People's Representatives is the sole legislative body and therefore the highest authority of the federal government, and members of the House of People's Representatives are elected by the people at district level, and the districts are based on population, with the provision that at least 20 of the 550 seats are reserved for the minority nationalities. So this body determines the organization of the national defense and security, declared state of emergency or war on the basis of a draft submitted to it by the Council of Ministers, and it also levies taxes and ratifies federal budget and international agreement concluded by the executive, appoints federal judges and members of the Council of Ministers, and establishes the Ombudsman, the Human Rights Commission, and the Auditor General. And also the House has the power to call the Prime Minister or other ministers for questioning, and also holds oversight responsibility over the activities of the same. So it also has 9 standing committees. And when we come to the House of Federation, it's composed of 108 representatives of nations, nationalities, and peoples of Ethiopia. And members of the House of Federation are appointed by the State Council, or the state may hold election to have representatives elected by the people directly. And it has the power to interpret the Constitution. So it means that it has also the power to resolve disputes that may arise between the regional states and determine the division of revenues between the two levels of government that derive from the joint resources, and to allocate federal subsidies among the state governments. It has just the constitutional responsibility to promote equality of people of Ethiopia and consolidate their unity based on mutual respect. It also has the power to order federal intervention in any state with, when the constitutional order is found endangered. So it is just this joint session that we are talking about.
There are also, sorry for the interruption, major areas that the Parliament is going to focus on, especially from the economic directions
I'm just
and
coming
budget allocation.
to those points.
Sure.
And so the country's president, Ayas Selassie, is going to address the joint sessions. And maybe my speculation, first most important point is, as we mentioned earlier, the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and those projects, mega projects, flagship projects for Ethiopia that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed unveiled during the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. But this session, it's not the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam itself that's going to be a topic, but post-inauguration of GERD. The plan is with what comes next. For example, it could be the transboundary cooperation, how to strengthen that transboundary cooperation, or how to export power and how to generate income from GERD, or how to use GERD energy source to promote Ethiopia's economy and just to ensure the macroeconomic transformation of Ethiopia, and also assist the macroeconomic reform being under implementation for the past year and couple of months or so. So this is just something that I expect,
and maybe if you don't have any other, we can also mention that the Parliament is expected to review and approve the federal budget with special attention to revenue distribution between the federal government and the regional states. So this likely will be discussed on, or this discussion will be on economic recovery, inflation control, and strategies to boost investment in job creation in the case of our country, of course. And going further, we can see the federal and regional relations that they have, according to the House of Federation, that would address ongoing or emerging disputes, as you've said. It's also some of the anticipated points that are going to be working to ensure peaceful coexistence are the very points that will be anticipated to be raised.
Yeah, sure, Binyam, just what I can say about the macroeconomic points to be discussed, I mean, just the majority of issues to be pointed out next Monday includes those points, issues related to the macroeconomic reform. One way or another, just many of the issues are just related with the macroeconomic reform, I think. And so
maybe with that in mind, can we, can you give us some, explanation, especially on the homegrown economic reform programs?
Yeah, so there are just several reports. Before I came here, I could read several reports, including those expertise views regarding Ethiopia's macroeconomic reforms. And what they show is success. That's what I could read, and since July 2024, Ethiopia has been just implementing this the homegrown macroeconomic reform. It is a comprehensive one, and it aimed at achieving high and stable economic growth, maintaining single-digit inflation, building a globally competitive economic system, among others. It can also just ensure healthy, inclusive, stable, and job-creating economic growth. So one of the achievements so far is it has brought swift relief to the economy by increasing foreign exchange reserves and exports. How the economists explain here is that when the country started to have an increased or just to show boost in its foreign currency reserve, it means that those who manufacture for export-led manufacturers get raw materials easily because they get currencies. So the export industry in the country is activated, encouraged. So the importers have been just substituted. So this is a big measure for the country, and one of the result areas is this one. And the other point is it also has just shown promising results in addressing foreign exchange distortion, as such a country had been grappling with before the reform time, and long-standing foreign payment imbalances, inflation. And when we talk about inflation, over the past maybe 6 or 5 years, inflation in the country has been higher, and the government has been just taking several monetary policies to control, regulate inflation. And yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the National Bank of Ethiopia, with its assessment report, said that Ethiopia's annual inflation for the year 2017 fell to 13.6%. That is by the end of August, and indicating that the impact of inflation on the economy is easing, the bank said. However, there are still issues like inflation, unemployment, meaning just inflation issue is not, the government want just to maintain a single-digit inflation, and on some indicators of inflation it is little higher, and government needs to still work on those issues. So they are going to be points to be reflected on Mondays, and unemployment, trade deficit, increased tax collection. These are just issues to be addressed if the macroeconomy is just, the reform is to be fully implemented and more.
Okay, you can proceed.
Yeah. So these and some other related issues could be priority areas for the government in the coming new year. Just the new year we already started. The other most important related with this one is just the as part of the macroeconomic reform and its consequences, government planned to make salary increments for the public servants, and this salary increment was done so far, and it also introduced or announced it would do the same this year as of September. So this is just one thing that we are going to hear about, and it's the practicality of it could be heard. And another point is Ethiopia is to halt election 2026, and that is probably in June 2026. And we may also hear about the national dialogue, the progress, and what's expected, and what sort of, for example, direction could the government give. For example, there are just arguments from the public and some concerned people that it has delayed in some way. So what could be the government's measure or direction regarding this? And we could just hear a lot about this.
Sorry for we believe that several expected points to be addressed, and that shall be seen in the course of time when the time is nearing. Of course, we have hammered several points that have been trending in the country Ethiopia, starting from the first month of September. And how unique it is, and the contribution that it has in connection with Madabara philosophy. And going forward, let's have a look at, of course, Guba's bounties. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us also this conversation on FBC FM 104.7, the voice of Pan-Africanism, or you can also Google on our Facebook address www.ebc104.7, and you can get updated with all the trending issues that's unfolding in the continent Africa in general, and in Ethiopia in particular. Now it's time that we have to have a look at the Guba's bounties. And as you know, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's announcement of the Guba bounties marks a transformative movement for Ethiopia, signaling a bold vision for the country's industrialization and self-reliance and economic renaissance. Besides with this, with a combined investment exceeding, as you know, there is several projects that the country is undertaking. So what can you tell us, and what are some of the benefits that Ethiopia gets out of this bounty, benefits, and then not only for Ethiopia, it might go beyond. So what's your reflection on this?
Okay, now for me, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam inauguration by itself means a lot for Ethiopia's economy. It can extricate millions of people out of poverty. if we just use that power generated from GERD for example, industries, small businesses, and so on, we can do that. Two, many people, for example, our mothers and children, have faced for the last maybe many years a kind of diseases from smoke or from charcoal smoke, wood smoke, because they use firewood and charcoal for. So it can just transform and empower women and girls in the rural parts of Ethiopia. Not only, in fact, in rural parts of Ethiopia, because there have been just power disruptions in many towns. So it can just change that. That is just a big story for Ethiopians. But apart from this, the same day the Prime Minister announced several projects worth 30 billion, I mean more than 30 billion. And one of these is a nuclear power plant that has attracted international attention, not only regional or Ethiopians.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing that in at large.
Sure. And another point is just the commencement of a new airport, which initially will have a capacity to handle 60 million passengers annually. The next one is a gas factory, which is scheduled to be inaugurated in a few weeks to come. And within the same period, he said a second gas plant more than 10 times the first one will begin construction. And in addition, an oil refinery, which the Prime Minister said would turn our long-haul dream of extracting oil into reality, is slated to start operations in less than a month. There has been also a finalized agreement to build a fertilizer production. This is also a big boost not only for Ethiopian agriculture but also the region's agriculture. So this is just a big move. You see, it also saves some currency, creates jobs, and also creates some sort of regional integration. So it is just this way that Ethiopia aspires to create some sort of regional integration. Look at the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. We have already been interconnected with power with Tanzania, Kenya, Djibouti, Sudan. And Ethiopia aspires to export more power to regional countries. It means that there could be some sort of economic growth in these regions.
Sure.
You see? So it is just this way that you develop together. By the way, the spirit of Medemer, the philosophy of the ideology of Medemer goes beyond boundaries.
Sure.
So this is just how the Ethiopian government looks and just is trying to contribute and showing its commitment to regional countries as well. And seeing the social dimension, the Prime Minister said 1.5 million homes will be availed for citizens for within the next 5 or 6 months. So these are just what the Prime Minister has said, and it is just enormous. These projects will not only transform Ethiopia, but also, as I mentioned, transform the region.
Great. On top of that, let me add 2 or 3 lines. So the benefit of the Guba bounties are far-reaching, as you have explained, and also the Prime Minister has underscored that in a very interesting manner. The project will create millions of jobs and stimulate industrial growth and enhance Ethiopia's regional competitiveness. Further, it reflects a comprehensive development strategy that prioritizes energy security, infrastructure, modernization, and social progress. More than economic ventures, this actually initiative symbolizes Ethiopia's renewed national spirit and Africa's pride, similarly demonstrating the power of unity, endurance, and shared determination in shaping the nation's future, which is also quite similar with the idea of Medemer as we are renewing to the new future. I think this will be some of the very developmental issues that has been trending. Now we are going to the very bottom line, that is historic ink between Russia and Ethiopia. Of course, as we are going to look at this one, I will try to just give you a point that you can make on this regard? As you know, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed emphasized that Ethiopia's nuclear ambition are purely peaceful and development, and there has been historic agreement. So what can you tell us about that particular meeting?
Yeah, I can just come later about that, but since we are just at the Guba, where the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam was built and inaugurated. I mean, Guba is found in Benshangul-Gumuz region, and it is, I mean, the place is somehow 40 to 30 kilometers away from the border of Sudan. So it is just there that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed unveiled or announced this project, this mega projects of the country in upcoming years. So related with GERD, we heard last Monday about at the UN Security Council there was debate, and that debate is particularly on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, and Egypt accused Ethiopia on that. And let me just tell you what the Egyptian representative there said. Ethiopian dam represents unilateral action devoid of any legitimacy, violates international law, and does not produce any consequences on the legal system governing the Eastern Nile Basin. Look, 4 points we can see here. Ethiopian dam represents, he said, unilateral action. 1. 2, devoid of legitimacy. 3, violates international law and does not have any consequences on the legal system governing the Eastern Nile. So let's try one by one these 4 points. The first one is it represents unilateral action, it said. But Ethiopia is building the dam based on an agreement between the 3 countries, based on an agreement of all the entire riparian countries. For example, back on March 23rd, 2015, the 3 leaders of the 3 countries met in Khartoum and signed Declaration of Principles. That Declaration of Principles understood and accepted the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD as a development project. That is where Egypt recognized the GERD. It is a development project. 1. 2, it is just based on this declaration of principles that Egypt is going to the Security Council. Because, you know, the 10th article says, that article is on the principle of peaceful settlement of disputes, you see. The 3 countries commit to settle any dispute resulting from the interpretation or application of Declaration of Principles through talks or negotiations based on the goodwill principle. If the parties involved do not succeed in solving the dispute through talks or negotiations, they can ask for mediation or refer the matter to their heads of states or prime ministers. So it is just based on this that Egypt is trying to go to once the African Union, at other time to the Arab League, and for the last 14 times to the UN Security Council. Egypt is exercising the provisions on the DOP, Declaration of Principles. Ethiopia is doing the same. It's based on that Declaration of Principles. Ethiopia is doing that. And again, Egypt is claiming that Ethiopia is not just following or abiding the international laws, water laws. What does the international transboundary water laws says? The Declaration of Principle bases that. For example, cooperation, no significant harm, exchange of information. These are all in the provisions of the Declaration of Principles, you see? So this is also stipulated in the UN's law regarding the transboundary water laws. You can see the 1977 law regarding that and others. So Egypt's accusation of Ethiopia is totally false, and it is against those agreements the three countries have signed. Another important point we can see from here is that Egypt is saying that it does not produce any consequences on the legal system governing the Eastern Nile Basin. The Eastern Nile Basin countries are Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, and South Sudan.
Sure.
So you see, South Sudan and Ethiopia, including some, together with some 4 other upper riparian countries, have signed and adopted the CFA, Cooperative Framework Agreement. It is this CFA that nullified the colonial era agreements.
Sure.
The colonial era agreements, the 1929 and the 1959 agreements, are not just included in the DOP, nor are they maintained in the CFA. So the African Union just endorsed it and recognized the CFA as a governing and binding legal agreement. It is just to be exercised internationally. What the international community, for example, takes into account is this CFA, even not the DOP. So the CFA governs Sudan, Ethiopia, among the Eastern Nile countries. So it also works for the others.
Maybe if you can precisely address it, because we have other issues to cover.
Okay. So these are points. And the other most important point Egypt accused Ethiopia is of not contributing to regional peace. Who is not contributing really to regional peace? Ethiopia, as the world knows, is just contributing not only for regional peace, but world peace and order.
Exactly.
Since 1951, Ethiopia was there in the Korean War. Ethiopia is here in Africa in the Congo War, in Rwanda, in Somalia. Ethiopia is there in Sudan, 2 places, Abyei and Darfur. So these are just the examples I could mention, but Ethiopia has been there since 1951 just to serve the international peace and security under the UN peacekeeping mission, under the African peacekeeping missions, and more.
I wish, Sintai, we continued specifically on that point, because we have only a few minutes.
Let me just give you some examples. But for 100 years, for 100 years, Egypt has occupied Sudan. It still occupied some part of Sudan, which has some huge resources that can transform Sudan's the life of the people of Sudan. Egypt has been just trying to instigate some coup and just undertaking some coup activities, and that is rhythmic coup. Every certain period of year, Egypt does that. Egypt has been just involving in Ethiopian affairs, internal affairs. It tried to dismantle. For example, we have witnessed Egyptian politicians just saying that we would dismantle Ethiopians. Our men should marry Ethiopian women, and so we have just to make some sort of bond to dismantle these countries.
I'm sorry once again to interrupt you. I know even we can mention about the media narration before and after the completion, but maybe we can come some other time to hammer this point at large. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're still watching Viewpoint on EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, where we bring you all interesting trend issues unfolding in the continent, Ethiopia in particular, as we have mentioned several interesting developmental activities and the great achievement of Ethiopia. And now let's go to the very historic, ink that happened in Moscow between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. As you remember, in his speech delivered during the World Atomic Week in Moscow, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed underscored Ethiopia's firm commitment to peaceful use of nuclear technology as part of the national development strategy. And the Prime Minister made it clear that Ethiopia is not entering the nuclear space for prestige or competition, but rather to practically apply nuclear science in crucial sectors like energy, health, agriculture, and environmental protection. So just in a nutshell, I want you to address the very bottom line that has been discussed and how significantly is going to enhance Ethiopia's development future and strengthening the diplomatic relationship that the two countries have, because alongside this there has been also discussions further done.
Yeah, there have been just some discussions further, but my point is that Ethiopia is just using only for peaceful reasons that upcoming nuclear power plant. One point we need to underline is that, and another important point is that you have to see the long-standing relationship between the two countries, and it came to further to this level. So countries, for example, if you remember, in Ethiopia's bad times, the Russian Federation was with Ethiopia, including in the global arenas, not only here locally or regionally. So the Russian government and the Russian people have been with Ethiopia during all ups and downs of the country. So this is just unwavering, unshakable commitment of Ethiopia as well as the Russian government. So this is just what we can underline and what we can just take further if we have just to talk.
Yeah.
So reaching just a nuclear power plant agreement is not an easy thing, and the expense is also not little, because it is just to generate equivalent power with the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam generators. And what does it mean for Ethiopia, and what does it mean for the regional countries?
Yeah, according to the Prime Minister, as I'm sorry for the interruption, in his message, it was really, both visionary and pragmatic. Because that nuclear energy represents not just power generation, but also a tool for transmission or transformation, innovation, and independence, if you've heard it. And it was an important statement of intent, positioning Ethiopia as a serious player in the global conversation on peaceful nuclear technology. And you can also continue on this regard, actually, if you have point. But what I remember is the signing of this particular nuclear agreement with Russia's Rostom on September 25, 2025 was marked as a critical moment in Ethiopia's technological and diplomatic journey. And this particular deal was including building Ethiopia's first nuclear power plant, training professionals, and developing an institutional and regulatory framework for the sector. So this isn't just a one-off project. It lays a groundwork for long-term capacity building and knowledge transfer in the nuclear field. Apart from that, for Ethiopia, which has long relied on hydropower and other renewables, nuclear energy introduces a new level of energy diversification and resilience. At the same time, it shows how international partners or partnership, especially with non-Western powers like Russia, are playing a bigger role in Ethiopia's future. So having that in mind, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, during his meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, also carried wider geopolitical significance. I say the visit went beyond energy, and we know that it represents strengthening of strategic ties between the two countries. So in a time when global alliances are shifting and African countries are seeking new partners, this meeting sent a clear message that Ethiopia is pursuing a multipolar foreign policy that prioritizes national interest. Russia's promotion of its advanced nuclear system, including planned closed nuclear fuel cycle by 2030, which highlights the depths of cooperation possible. So generally, this kind of partnership opens door to Ethiopia in advanced nuclear technologies and reflects a long-term shift in how African nations engage in global high-tech development. That's what I feel. Maybe if you have anything that you'd like to further add, I will give you still a few minutes. Otherwise, we can still continue getting closer to the close-up.
Yeah, what I can say is that the relation between Russia and Ethiopia is attaining the highest level partnership. Just trying to jointly build this, including knowledge and technology transfer, is not an easy thing. We have not just seen such kind of partnerships with in other parts of the world. So this is something big, something new in the new year for Ethiopia. Not only for Ethiopia particular, it's for Africa, because the power generated is just to help Africa, and it also just strengthens Russia's presence in Africa as well. So it is just something that strengthens South-South cooperation.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, just the global the financial structure is just in some sort of shift, and there have been just some cutting of funds for certain development projects, and when it comes to the South-South cooperation, that is just trying to bridge this gap, and that is really of immense benefit to the countries.
Sintayo, time is always against us. I thank you so much for your brief illustration on expounding this significant, Ethiopia's development and all the successful stories that the country is registering and the diplomatic relationship. And I thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close today's episode of Viewpoint on ABC World, we have explored Ethiopia's journey of renewal from the cultural spirit of Irecha to bold global steps in peaceful nuclear cooperation with Russia, and from Parliament's new session to economic reforms and the Guba bounties. The path forward is clear: a nation honoring its roots with embracing the future. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay inspired, and stay proud. Goodbye.